for Simon Says Stamp, and today we're going to create this mixed media framed decor piece using components from the May 2026 card kit called Long Stem Florals. You can also pick up many of these products individually from Simon Says Stamp. I have this frame that I had in my stash from Tim Holtz, but you could also pick any kind of 4x6 frame and that's going to work perfectly for this. I'm taking some of the pattern papers from the kit as well as the DECO Frames Metal Adornments. We're also going to use the vintage junk drawer rub-ons as well as the pattern papers, some heirloom roses, Idea-ology from Tim Holtz, the collage medium, and the walnut stain distress crayon. I'm going to work with the background of my frame. If you're using a regular frame, you could do the same thing by simply removing the frame and on the backing piece, place a little bit of your collage medium. I placed a little bit too much. You could probably get by with a little less. I'm just going to rub it around with my finger first. Then I'm going to take one of the 6x8 junk drawer pattern papers in the kit. This one looks like a whole bunch of overlapping letters, and I'm going to use the Tim Holtz brayer to rub this and really get a good application all over my background piece. And again, this is going to work on any kind of backing for a frame. Then I'm going to let that sit and dry for a little bit. I also kind of just took my fingers and rubbed along the edge. I'm going to tear this away once that has dried to the background. I removed that excess glue because, again, I used a little too much. Now for my frame itself, I did go ahead and take some of the Scorched Timber Distress spray, and I'm spraying it on the frame, but then I have an old rag and I'm using that to just rub it into the wood frame. If you have a raw wood frame that you've picked up from a craft store, you could achieve a very similar look. I'm basically using this just like a stain. I'm picking up some of that excess in my plastic splatter box and rubbing it into the outer edge so that it looks as nice from the side as it does from the front. We're going to let that absorb into the wood a little bit, and it's just going to darken up the frame. You could do this with other colors if you wanted it to be more colorful as well. Next, I'm going to take some of the gilded foundry wax. This is going to be very subtle. I don't think it shows up as good on camera as it does in real life, but I am going to take a little bit on a paintbrush and I'm just kind of tapping it onto the raised areas around my frame. I am going to heat set it. If you don't heat set the gilded or the foundry wax, it will eventually rub off. You could use another gold product if you wanted to. Again, I wanted this to be pretty muted, but it's going to kind of pick up that raised edge and area, and I'm just going to heat set this with my heat tool so that there's like a little bit of a gold shimmer all the way around. The other thing this did help is it did help dry the distress stain. That was an unintended result of this, but it's just kind of used to help create the wonderful little gold effect around the edge. There you can see a little bit of that shimmer and shine. So after I applied it once, I did go back in and I would add more in small spaces. You can really see that gold take effect right there along that edge, and I worked more in a small area at a time, and I feel like that worked a little bit better. This was a lot of trial and error, and I wanted to showcase that in the video so you could really see that you can build up that color, you can build up techniques and all of that good stuff like that. Add a little bit more here. It looks so good. Okay, we're going to set this aside while we work on the magic, the inside of our frame. I am going to start by tearing away the extra pattern paper along the edge. I did end up cleaning up the edge with the Tim Holtz craft knife. I just literally ran it along the edge of my background piece to clean it up in a couple of areas. I have a nice sharp blade on here, and so it really just kind of scraped off that little bit of overhang that I didn't get torn off. And there's our background. Now the frame is going to cover up that edge, so I didn't worry too much about it. Included in the kit And also available for individual purchase are the Simon Says Stamp Squoval tags. I'm going to use one of those tags to die cut one of the tag shapes from the junk drawer pattern papers in the kit. I decided to go with a color combination that is a lot of browns and neutrals with touches of yellow, golds, and green. I die cut one of the tags just like so. So even though it was a tag shape, you could totally cut that out with your scissors if you wanted to. I went ahead and die cut it, and then I went around the edges with a little Gathered Twigs Distress Oxide ink. Then I'm going to just lay it back behind one of the DECO Frames metal adornments. Right now, I'm not going to glue anything down. We're going to completely work on building all of the components, and then after everything is ready, that's when I'm going to go in and glue them in place. I did go ahead and take my background in some of the gold splatter from Simon Says Stamp and add a really generous splattering all over this background. I want this to be completely dry again before we do any of the additional background treatments or adhere any of the frames on top. I took a circle die set from Simon Says Stamp that I thought would work with the circular frame, and I am going to again take my pattern paper. This ended up being the same pattern paper that the first tag came from, and I'm going to die cut a circle from that, the one with the clock, and the clock is going to go back behind there. I'm going to rub the edges with my Distress ink again, using that Gathered Twigs Distress ink. I wanted everything to be a little bit grungy. And that's going to go inside of the circular frame. Oh, that's going to be perfect. And the clock ended up being one of my favorite components. Next, we're going to take a couple of alcohol inks, and I am going to use those to add a little soft color to these roses, these Heirloom Idea-ology roses. I'm using Sandal, the lighter color, and Butterscotch as my darker yellow color. And you'll notice that I tapped them off a little bit as I'm working on, and I went in and added a little extra. So and then I'm going to let them sit and dry. I like that little bit of extra color, and what this is going to end up doing is it's going to help them tie into that original frame that or that tag, pardon, that we die cut from the pattern paper included in the kit. So once I have that, I did kind of tip them over and knock a little bit off because I felt like it got a little dark. And then I'm going to set those aside to dry. In addition, I'm going to need 2 more roses from the pack. You get tons in this pack, and I could see using these on all kinds of pieces. These are eventually going to get glued to the edge of the clock frame. I also took the whole reinforcer from that same Squoval tag set and die cut that from another pattern paper from the junk drawer patterns included in the kit and tied a little lawn fawn twine to the top of this. I'm going to leave the tails long for now, and we'll trim those down here in a little bit. This is about 2 of our frame pieces that are going to go inside of the larger frame done. We're going to set those aside while we work on some of the others. And again, I have decided not to glue anything down yet, mostly because I did end up making a couple of small adjustments along the way. The rub-ons from the kit are going to get quite a workout. So what I'm going to do is I decided to take one of the butterflies and I cut it from the larger sheet so that I wouldn't accidentally transfer any of the other rub-ons. And I'm going to place it down in this lower right corner in this text background. That's going to keep the majority of this particular pattern paper available to use for something else. But I like that text design, back behind the butterfly. Then I'm going to place my frame over the top and I'm going to trace the outer edge with my pencil and use my scissors to cut this out. If you have an oval die that you think will work, you can use that, but I do find that sometimes ovals are a lot of different shapes. Sometimes they're a little longer and skinnier, sometimes they're a little wider, so I just use my scissors to cut that out. After I had that one cut out and my background is drying, I wanted to kind of double check to see how everything is looking and make sure that I have my placement exactly where it's going to go. Don't forget that the frame is going to take up about a 1/2 inch all the way around, so it's going to definitely, you know, dictate where you put all of the different pieces. I'm just going to glue these down, or not glue these down, pardon me, lay these down and see what I think. Already, I can tell that I am going to love this piece. All right, so we have 2 frames left. Now my splatter is dry. I have additional rub-ons that I want to start applying. I did start with this one Paris seal, and I'm going to adhere that one. I'm just using my bone folder. You can also use a stylus or a popsicle stick to apply these. I'm just going to apply that right here because on the right side, there's 3 frames, and on the left, there's 2, and there's a little bit of open space, more so than anywhere else on the design. I like that, but I felt that was a good space to also apply a rub-on. I will end up adding a few extra rub-ons in a little bit, but I'm going to add or go ahead and get another frame done. So this time I am taking this wonderful little phrase that says Fine Arts Department, and I'm just simply cutting it out. I traced it just like I did for the oval, and this is going to go back behind this next frame, this kind of scroll work type frame. I liked that Fine Arts Department phrase. We're going to ink up the edges with gathered twigs, just like we've been doing all along. And that is what's going to go in this little frame that goes in the upper right corner. It'll have a little bit more treatment to it as well, but that is a fabulous base to that one. We're also going to take the same pattern paper that we used for that, and I am going to use this other little partial butterfly ledger, and this is another oval shape that we're going to die cut out. We'll ink up the edges, and that is going to go in the upper left. That way we kind of have 2 of the butterflies and 3 that are more floral themed, I suppose. Just trying to make it very cohesive. I didn't want to introduce any new colors or anything like that. I've also taken 2 word phrases from the rub-ons included in the kit, the word life that we're going to go ahead and apply first. And then I have another sentiment that we're going to put right above this, and it says cherished. So cherished life is what this is going to end up reading. And again, I tried to make it work where the colors, I wasn't introducing pinks or something like that, which there are some pinks in this set, but that wasn't the color combo I was going for with this particular mixed media piece. I'm going to use the tip of my little piercing tool to help pop that backing paper off. And I ended up loving this, that it has a little butterfly and some words in it. Now from the Sweet Tiny Flowers die set from my stash, this is a Simon Says Stamp die set. I've die cut a bunch of green leaves. These are all just from patterns. I was careful with my placement, and I die cut the green from green pattern papers in the kit to use as leaves. So they do have a little grunge to them already. I'm also applying multiple little hearts from the rub-on set. You'll see there's 3 there. Just trying to use all of my things as guides because I don't want them to completely be covered up or anything like that. Some of them are going to peek out from behind frames or be in between frames. Okay, this little rub-on, part of it transferred without me even doing hardly anything. There we go. And we'll pop up that with the sharper tip. Same thing here. And then I realized I don't think I pulled the backing paper off of that 3rd heart. So let's pull that up. Our background is looking amazing. Now the Distress Crayon, the Walnut Distress Crayon that came in the kit, I used that to color on the leaves to grunge them up a little bit more. And then I just wiped it in really good with my fingertip. And I'm also decided to take another one of the rub-on like postage seals. I cut it in half, and I'm going to apply part of it up at the top. And the other portion I did end up using, it's going to kind of peek out from behind that long rectangular frame with the tag that goes behind it. It's a great way to make good use of your rub-ons because I only wanted part of that to show up at the top and I didn't want to waste the rest of it. So I just cut that off and used it somewhere else. Okay, we are about ready to pull this all together. What glue do you think is going to work best for this? I decided Glossy Accents and it was definitely the right choice. So what we're going to do is I'm going to take the Glossy Accents and glue the frames in place over the pattern paper, and then we are going to apply them inside the larger frame with foam adhesive. Now this was right before I glued those in place. I decided I thought this tag needed grunged up a little more, so I picked a few little grungy rub-ons from the set to apply along the side. And what I did was I just would cut a portion of it off. That way we maintain a lot of extra, and I'm going to apply this in a couple of places over that roses tag, and that grunges it, and it just made it kind of match the rest of the look and feel, I think, of the design a little bit better. I'm going to run that Glossy Accents along my metal frame and just glue it in place. For this particular one, yes, some of the tag pops out from around. That's the look I wanted for that one. And I'm going to let that dry. I'm going to snip the ends of my twine and we're going to glue the clock. Now I almost messed up the clock and had it wonky, so I need to really make sure that I have the 12 o'clock up at the top. There we go. And this has multiple things that need to be glued in place. Patience is definitely going to be needed for this, in that I am gluing these little flowers to the metal frame with Glossy Accents. It's going to take a minute for them to dry, but once they did dry, they were on there really nice and it worked well. So I'm going to glue those down, and I'm not going to worry about the leaves quite yet, but I will be going in and adding those little green leaves around. See, my flowers all fell off. So don't tip it because it's not like paper. It's not going to stick immediately. And I'm going to let that sit while I work on the rest of these. I love these little flowers. They're one of my favorite things. So, so pretty. Okay, so then we're going to continue gluing the pieces. And I forgot to grunge up the edges of the butterfly, so I took the Walnut stain crayon. It worked much like the direct-to-paper with the ink pad, so you can definitely do that if you like that effect a little bit better than the direct-to-paper, or vice versa. And we'll let that one dry. I have a couple more roses as well, so we're going to do the same thing with this. I felt like this background might be a little too plain as well, so we're going to take some more of the little grungy before we glue the frame in place. And I'm just using my fingernail. I got really lazy at this point and just used my fingernail to add a little bit of grungy text along the sides. It's really, really faint. It is not overwhelming at all, but I like that additional grungy effect. Glossy Accents around the edges again. Glue that frame in place. I love it says Fine Arts Department. Great for a craft room if you want to create your own little decor or even make a gift for somebody. We're going to glue that rose right to the pattern paper. And then for this one, we're going to take a couple of those leaves. And I do think using our Simon Says Stamp Reverse Tweezers helps hold those little leaves great. I'm folding them in half a little bit, adding a little Glossy Accents, and then tucking them under the edge of the rose. I noticed I missed adding some of the Walnut stain crayon to that leaf, so I went ahead and applied that and rubbed it in really good. And look at what a difference those green leaves add to the yellow roses. You could even leave them plain and not add the alcohol inks if you don't want to, and it's going to tie in beautifully. It really matches that first tag. Everything in this design, in this mixed media piece, was influenced by that very first tag I die cut, which is kind of fun. Okay, we're going to tuck the rest of these leaves around. Again, so that they can start drying a little bit because the roses aren't quite dry yet. And we're going to add quite a few leaves around this. I want it to be very rose and leaf heavy, but again, the leaves to me make all the difference in the world. You could even hand cut some little leaves if you want to, but I loved that I was able to find this wonderful Simon Says stamp die set in my stash and die cut all of these little pieces that work and are sized perfectly for these idea-ology heirloom roses. The leaves make a huge, huge difference. We're going to glue the frame then to our background, especially since this is a Tim Holtz frame here. If it was a frame you got at a store, you would be able to, I would take the glass out, obviously, because we have a lot of dimension here, and you could place the backer inside of the frame. I'm going to glue the frame to the background. Again, I'm going to use glossy accents. You could also use another kind of craft glue or hot glue if you wanted to, but I'm just going to run my glossy accents around and line that up and glue it in place. Lots of layering. I would recommend, and when I was finished with this, I took a little stain and added it to that outer edge of the backer piece so that it matched the front with that Scorched timber ink. And I've got foam adhesive on the back of all of my pieces, and we're going to pop them up in this frame. You could glue them directly to the background if you wanted to as well, but I love that little bit of lift the foam adhesive gives. Oh my gosh, look at it all come together now. It looks absolutely amazing. It's one of my favorite mixed media pieces I think I've created. You can tuck it into little vignettes. You can display it on a shelf. It would make a lovely gift for a friend, even a non-crafting friend. Just a really, really fun piece and a different way to use your Simon Says stamp card kit. Now, I did feel I needed one additional flower, and I added that to the center of that postage mark there and added a couple of those extra leaves that I already had on hand. Thank you guys so much for joining me today for this mixed media decor piece featuring the May 2026 Simon Says stamp card kit. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.
Hi, I'm Heidi, founder of SimonsAysStamp.com. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you like what you just saw, be sure to press the thumbs up and subscribe to see more great content.